Hello, Brass Babes. I know that I had mentioned crocheting live for you guys in the past, and that I had started this. I actually started to write down the pattern, and I can explain it. But once I have it figured out, once I've got the pattern drafted and figured out, and everything like that, might even make a video kind of breaking down the step-by-step of what I did to create a doll. This is what I have so far made. This is going to be the torso. This here's the bottom. This is where the legs will be attached. And I know just how to do that without sewing them together. I'm currently on row number 13, I believe. And I've used a combination of double crochet stitches and even some triple crochet stitches. But the triple crochets are a little bit more scarce comparatively. But yeah. So I've still been following Amberlynn's journey and everything. I'm still rooting for her. I am. We all, like, I don't know. I feel like people need to just be nicer to her and more supportive, I guess. Because, I don't know, I'm really, really, really tired of fighting with people in her comments because they feel the need to attack me for trying to be like, hey, good work on this positive thing that nobody wants to acknowledge. Like, making a choice to use a tool to help you get your life together doesn't take away from the accomplishment it is to make such a choice to try to make your life better. It's like criticizing someone for going to therapy to help them get their mental health together. Oh, well, you didn't do it on your own, so it's not valid. It basically is like how a lot of people seem to, what's the word? Imply. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a very long time since I've actually even checked in on Eugenia, but considering the reaction channels are still making videos on her, I take it she's still with us. It's gotten too sad for me to check in on her myself, because it's just so rough. Of all eating disorders, it's my opinion that, yeah, all eating disorders can kill you, but the speed at which they do is very different. I believe that there's still a chance that Amberlynn can make a comeback and recover. But with Eugenia, I'm not certain she will. And it's truly devastating to think of that. She deserved better, honestly. But I genuinely don't think that there's going to be a chance of getting help in time, or getting it figured out in time. Like, I don't know. I still have my sleep meds in system, so I'm a little bit groggy still. There we go, some better lighting. But yeah. I'm just kind of rambling to fill the dead silence. That way, whenever people come back to look at this, at least there's something engaging or interesting. I'm not just sitting here crocheting in silence. But one of my favorite YouTubers, his name is Sean of Steel. And I don't know, I really enjoy him, and quite frankly, I kind of owe him a lot of my, like, if it wasn't for a lot of the stuff that he said, I don't think I would have been able to get my shit together. Doing a bunch more double crochets. I keep doing double crochets all the way around each round, and it's going to keep going until the torso is close to the size of my already existing dolly. But yeah, but watching Shaun of Steel kind of helped me gain a lot of confidence, I feel like, and it kind of helped me to shift my mindset that allowed me to get to a point of healing. I've been watching his content for well over a year now, and genuinely, he's one of my favorite YouTubers. Sorry, I don't like how it feels when my lips are wet. But yeah, I do think that in the discussion with Amberlyn, it does very quickly become quite toxic and one-sided, I feel like. And I feel like Jordy just comes, like, I used to like Jordy's videos and stuff, his content, the stuff that he would say, his commentary. I always thought he was funny, but, like, now I don't know, I stopped watching him because it feels like he's nitpicky and he wants to make everything into a joke. And it's like, okay, like, whenever you were making valid points, it's one thing, but I don't know, I just can't vibe with that. I don't know. Like, it's one thing to react to someone, and it's another to sit there and make fun of them for the mental illness they are struggling with. Because with binge eating, it really is very much, it's very difficult to shift your mindset. And after having survived a couple months with some pretty extreme food insecurities, I have been very fearful of falling into a binge pattern, and in some ways I have, but I've managed to try to, I don't know, keep control of it, or try to, like, okay, so if I'm gonna binge, maybe I should just make sure that it's stuff that's not gonna make me horribly sick. And that's kind of how I've been dealing with it until my brain switches off that survival mode instinct and realizes, hey, there's not a famine, there's plenty of food, we've been eating it. My guts will attest. But yeah, I feel like my parents are gonna ruin my wedding, and I'm thinking of uninviting the both of them. My mom is back on the sauce. She spent my money. She spent my money that was meant to go towards weed, and so I don't have any, and she knows how important it was, because she was gonna go with a friend to Michigan to get some weed, and I had handed her some of my money for this, and she knows that I use it medicinally to treat my pain and also to handle my good morning to you too. Obtuse fuck, is that what your name's supposed to be? Or I could be stupid. I don't have my glasses on, to be fair. But anywho, but she spent it, and I'm pretty sure she spent it on, okay, cool, I did say it right. But yeah, she spent the money on her booze, and I'm genuinely like, she was supposed to stop by now, you know? She slipped like a couple months ago, and she's been drinking like a gallon of wine on a daily basis almost ever since, and I can't reach her. Anytime I need her, she's unavailable. I do have a THC vape, actually, but I'm trying to ration it because it's gonna be a hot minute before I get a chance to get like more. So it's like I have it for like emergency use only. So basically, unless I feel like I'm going to be sick, I'm kind of just, yeah. But yeah, I'm kind of pissed off at my mom because she just kind of like spent money that she knew was meant to go to something medicinal. Then she lied to me about what the money was spent on. She said that she bought hygiene stuff like soap and toilet paper, and she said she thought she was going to be able to get it back. And then she didn't even end up going to Michigan, and she lied through her. She lied. She lied. I can't say she lied through her teeth. She hasn't got any. Like, she lied, and you can smell the booze heavy on her breath, and I'm really upset about it, and I'm not really sure if moving in with her is going to be a good idea, because when she is on the sauce, she is incredibly selfish and inconsiderate of other people, including her own children. So yeah, she was sober for 2 years, which is why we were able to get as close as we had, and then it just, I don't know, she slipped, and she used that as an excuse to go all the way into it, to really lean into the alcoholism. Whenever I'm done creating this, I'm going to end up flipping it inside out, by the way. I need to do something about that tail, but this will end up being the outside of it. I think it'll make it look a little bit neater, because it does look a lot neater on that side. Or I'm delusional. I am blind, to be fair. But, yeah, and then my dad, I don't know, he just gets under my skin. The way he handled, like, I don't know, things regarding my siblings, and the way that he handled me, and the way that he handled, like, all of us growing up is honestly abhorrent. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to forgive that whenever it's like you had one job and you couldn't even do it, you know, that you just couldn't even feed your own damn children, you know. So like it's very difficult to think about allowing either one of my parents to go to the wedding. I wanted them to both be there, but they can't get their shit together, obviously. My dad has a favorite, he just won't admit it. And he basically did kind of admit it yesterday, but in other words, where he vaguely fumbled for something pleasant to say about the rest of us. So he was like, oh, your brother's my favorite when I want some manual labor done, or someone who's got strength, someone who can put in some work. And then he pauses a moment, really, really thinks, and then he says, one thing you girls have always had in common was music and art. And I'm sitting here like, but you didn't say that makes us your favorite in that side of things. Don't play me. The only one he used the word favorite for was my brother. And then he tried to feebly grasp at something positive to say about us without even mentioning anything about any kind of, you guys are also my favorite, but in this way. No. My brother's my favorite. It's been obvious my whole life. And I wish he could just be honest. I even told him to be honest about it because I'm not upset about it. It's only natural to have favorites. It happens no matter what. It's unavoidable. You know, and it's just so frustrating. It's like, dude, I gave you a shot to, like, actually be truthful of what I... It does suck to have not supportive parents. My mom at least has a more valid excuse than my dad. My dad is just a deadbeat for no good reason, and that's why I kind of resent him more than my mom. My mom's dealing with issues. She's sick. Although, even still, that's not really much of an excuse, but it's still more excusable than him, in my opinion. So I'm genuinely contemplating whether or not I want to invite them to the wedding, after all. I'm going to go back and forth on this probably for the next couple of years until we actually have the money to actually have the wedding. But I can imagine that it's going to be... I keep imagining this horror, this absolute horror scenario where my parents can't behave and they ruin the wedding and everything. Speaking of weddings and love and romance and all that good stuff, I finally figured out where I am as far as my sexuality and orientation is. I identify as a pan-romantic lesbian. So it's like, I don't know, like, romantically, I could probably, like, get involved with anyone, hence my fiance. But, like, sexuality-wise, it just doesn't, you know, it's not the same. But, I don't know, I always felt like, you know, love was so much more important than things like sex anyway. Truthfully, I probably what the lesbian community would refer to as a Bambi lesbian, someone who's more into, like, I guess the softer side of a relationship, like cuddles and hugs and, you know, just stuff like that. So I think it works pretty okay. Oh God, I lost feeling to my feet. There we go. We're almost done with this round. Honestly, crocheting is honestly very, very, in my opinion, soothing. It keeps me from picking at my skin, which is a habit I'm trying to replace with other nervous habits that keep my hands busy. Busy hands can't pick. And plus, I get to do something constructive. I think that my favorite thing to crochet, though, because I'm having a lot more fun with this than I ever had with any blanket, even though I'm, like, completely, like, fabricating this as I go along. I'm not following any kind of pattern for this. And I'm just hoping to God that it actually looks okay in the end. But yeah, it is, like, genuinely very nice. And then you also have the feeling of accomplishment when it's finished. But let me show you the progress on my friend's blanket so far. This blanket is for my very best friend. And I used all the turquoises and greens and some little bits of blues and purples as well. And it's just steadily getting bigger. It's just currently I'm taking a break because I desperately want to see this doll come to fruition. I'm very, very fond of rag dolls. And I really love giant rag dolls, like the one that I'm kind of making this one based on, which is this giant crochet rag doll. I never could find a pattern for her, which is why I'm making one up. But yeah. I'm not certain yet who this doll will be, if anyone, or if I'll just make up a fictitious name for her. I'm not yet sure. I do want to learn how to crochet curly cues, though, so she'll have beautiful... Such a beautiful gift. It will last forever and took so much time. Yes. Yes. Honestly, she's my very best friend and possibly, like, I don't know, in a way, like, I feel like she very much is, like, I don't know, my soulmate in a lot of ways. Even, like, platonically speaking, I do believe in platonic soulmates, I do. And I do love her a great deal, and I think about her with every stitch and how much I appreciate her. And I'm trying to make the blanket so big that she and her daughter and whoever she ends up in a relationship with can all fit under it for snuggles. So that's kind of where my thought process with that is. It's going to be huge. And I'm making it with all of her favorite colors. Her favorite colors are a lot of green tones, blue tones, and turquoise is her absolute favorite. Oh, no, 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 no. I started to do a double crochet, and I meant to do a slip stitch. Autopilot mode. So for this project, since it's one that I'm making up as I go along, I actually have to visually look at it. Once I've done this multiple times, though, I will be able to do it without looking. But, when it comes to, like, the blanket, that's something that I'm capable of doing without looking. As a matter of fact, I very often will crochet underneath the table with those blankets. Let's see. So I'm just doing another round of double crochets. Oh, you know what? Nope. I'm gonna do this round in triple crochets, actually. It's been a few rounds since I've done some. I'm kind of doing a bunch of double crochets, a row of triples, and then a bunch more double crochets. In fact, let's see. At the start, there was 1, 2. The third round was triples. 1, 2, 3. Fourth round was... No, not fourth round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seventh round was also triples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so the 8th round will also be triples. And I do that to kind of make it go a lot faster. The triple crochets are a lot longer compared to the double, and double is longer than single. So while I might not be doing the exact stitches of this other doll, it's still heavily inspired by. But truthfully, I think the doll was made with a bunch of double crochets too. Comparing these stitches to the stitches of her foot. But I think that she's a bunch of double crochets that she's been made with. It's a good classic way to do it too. It's like genuinely, pardon me. Visually, they look similar enough. I think I can get away with it. Okay. Let's see. I also visited my family, like my dad and stepmom and everything the other day. And my stepmom, she used to always be super duper duper skinny because when she's stressed, she can't eat. And now she's gained a bunch of weight. Yeah, the doll is pretty unique. I'm pretty sure it was made by the grandmother of a friend, well, a neighbor who was also my friend. She gave her to me when I was maybe in 4th or 5th grade. And when I started picking up crocheting, I've always had a goal in mind to learn how to make this doll myself. But yeah, there is no pattern. I've actually tried searching for a pattern. There is no pattern, so I'm thinking that her grandma made it up. So what I've done is I've taken a very close look at the details of the doll and how she's constructed so I can replicate it. I'm very good at deconstructing things in my mind. That's actually how I learned how to sew. I would sit there and I'd stare at the seams of, you know, any given thing, and it helped me to figure out how to sew. I was able to deconstruct it. It's probably just like the way my autism works, truthfully. I'm a very visual thinker, and I'm very good at that kind of stuff. Just visualizing the process by reversing it in my mind and then redoing it from jump in my mind. also. Also, this is the bucket that I use to hold the ball of yarn while I'm crocheting. And I like that I can just carry it around like it's a little purse, and everyone just looks at me funny. And a lot of little kids will come up to me too, and it's really strange. And it's like, the reason I chose a pumpkin-shaped bucket is because of this lip that it kind of has at the top. It helps keep the yarn from popping out, from spilling. If it gets knocked over, yarn's still in. And that's why I chose the pumpkin. I want to eventually get a pink pumpkin, though. I think I'll wait till next Halloween when they're on, for sale again, existing, and have it be my crochet pumpkin. So at least then it will match my outfits. But, I figure that, you know, like a $2 pumpkin from Walmart compared to, like, spending a bunch of money on this little ceramic thing that has the thing that the thread goes through. I actually have rigged up a thing using a safety pin on the side. I can thread the string through this if I need to. But since there's only one ball of yarn in there and it's getting quite small now, I don't have a need to do that. Yeah, I tend to be very resourceful. I'm pretty sure I was built to survive the Depression. Because I've always been very skillful at finding ways to make things useful, turn everything into a tool. Cool. I guess that means I have a lot more in common with crows than I thought. It's actually really cool. I love crows so much. And at Goodwill, when I worked there, I had got this Starbucks bag, which is now a crochet bag. So I've got my little pouch full of various little tools. In one of the side pockets, I have my pouch full of crochet hooks. In this front pocket, I actually have an electric light up crochet hook with a bunch of interchangeable hooks. You just plug it in and charge it, and boom, you can crochet in the dark. I like to use it when I'm at the theater, but only if I'm in the way back. That way I'm not disturbing people. But it's not generally too bright, so it's usually not a problem. And then in the other pocket on the side, scissors. And sometimes these grommets, I'll thread the yarn through it to keep the string of yarn, like, keep the yarn from getting all tangled and such. Hold on. And of course I have a little Squishmallow froggy on there. It's the most recent frog that my fiance bought for me. And she's wearing a little scarf. And apparently that Squishmallow frog's name is Wendy. And you know what? I'll let it remain. I'll let that be her name. I had an Aunt Wendy. I never got to meet my Aunt Wendy, but still. There. She had, she was in an abusive relationship for a long time, and she couldn't take it anymore. So she took herself out of the equation entirely, and to this day, her kids hate her for it and believe her to be horribly selfish. And in my opinion, it's just tragic because she didn't see any other way of escaping that. And that's horrible. Genuinely heartbreaking. But, you know, it happens, I guess. What's done is done and it can't be undone. It's not like I'm in contact with that side of the family anyway. Most of them can't stand my mother. Yeah, her kids have been grown for a long time. I hope that they understand. I hope they didn't discover her, though. I do hope that her husband did, though, and I hope that it hurt. I hope it hurt him so bad. Like, that's the only, like, comfort I think I could get from that. But, I don't know. I think that her kids were also poisoned against her based on how it sounds. How my mom has told the story, that's what it sounds like, is that they kind of sided against her or were brainwashed to be against her. And as someone who has come from a family where, you know, everyone has been steadily poisoned against my mother. I understand completely. Although right now, my mother's definitely on thin ice when it comes to the wedding. I'm the only child that, like, has any kind of closeness with her, and she's kind of driven a rift between us, and I'm very frustrated because it's like, gee, I finally have my mom back, and now it's like she's disappearing into a bottle. But, you know, it is what it is. I'll live. She'll get her shit together eventually, I hope. I hope. Let's see. So yeah, we're doing another row of treble crochets. I'm sorry that you understand that, honestly, obtuse fuck. My mom was on pills heavily too. That's actually where her addiction started. So she was in a car accident when my brother and I were very, very young. Or maybe it was when she was pregnant with him. And they had prescribed her some pain meds after, like, he wasn't born hooked on pain meds, though. It was the next child that would be born on a lot of crap. But yeah, after that car accident, they kind of, like, the doctors had prescribed her something and told her it was non-addictive, and they were full of shit. This was very rampant in the early 2000s. There's even, like, an entire docuseries on it now. But, and that was kind of her foot into the door of addiction. She became addicted to the medicine they prescribed her, and it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. And then when she got clean from the pills quite a few years ago, she turned to alcohol. And that's one that she's kind of been back and forth. Doctors should be ashamed of themselves for keep giving that stuff. Not a fan of my mother's doctor. Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of my mom's doctor either. Honestly, it's crazy. You know, the fact that, oh God, I started doing double crochets again. I'm used to doing double crochets more than any other kind of crochets. But yeah, the fact that they prescribed this stuff and lied, because my mom's mom died of liver failure due to her own addiction. My mother vowed to never ever put us through that. That's why she genuinely did grill the doctor on it whenever they were prescribing it. Like, you're sure this is not addictive? You're sure this is going to be okay? And they insisted that it would be fine. And now we're here. Here she is all these years later, using alcohol as a crutch in place of pills, which was her crutch at one point. And of the two, I suppose alcohol is probably the better one of the two compared to the pills. Yeah, my mom's liver has almost failed multiple times, actually. But mostly due to her, allegedly, one of her, like, the fact that she's drinking all the time is not helping, but one of her medications had stopped processing correctly and was building up in the liver, and it was starting to shut it down. So they had to switch her medicine, and she hasn't had too many issues with it since then, as of yet. But if she keeps drinking, she probably will. Especially if she keeps, like, I don't know, taking crap tons of Tylenol. Like, she'll take a half of a bottle of Tylenol PM to sleep. And it's like, bro, you're gonna, like, destroy your liver. But, you know, she's an adult, and there's only so much a person can do. And I guess I'm just kind of right now giving her the space and time to, like, figure her shit out. Because, I don't know, it's like right now she's sleeping. I know she's sleeping. And if I were to try to talk to her, I would hear her very slurred, groggy speech and not be able to know what the hell she's trying to say. Yeah, I'm kind of used to being the one to have to handle things in a mature manner. I don't get along with my dad. Okay, I can play nice though. I can be civil. As long as he doesn't touch any topics and I don't touch any topics, mostly pertaining to religion and politics, then we're good. And so like I don't know, and I'm used to being the mature one. Like I've said in past videos, I raised my younger siblings, and I've had to learn to be okay with the fact that they used to steal my food stash because they were just trying to survive too, and I recognized that, even though at the time it irritated me. Even at the time, I was able to forgive them for it and understand, even if it was frustrating. So I don't know. I've always been both of my parents are basically giant children who never got their shit together, with a lot of psychological issues that they refuse to even deal with. So I've always kind of had to be the level-headed, mature one, I guess. And I guess in a way that's kind of like there's a silver lining with that. Like I can like as a result of having to grow up so quickly, I can take care of myself quite well, and I'm very resourceful. Like I said, I was built to survive, and with the way that things are right now, I think that that's going to be a positive. So, I've learned very much to take the positive away from everything. It's just, otherwise you just kind of would break down and like, what else could you do? You know, you gotta find the silver lining somewhere, or else what's the point? That silver lining is what we fight for every day when we're living, when we're surviving and trying to get to the point of living. I look forward to a point where I don't have to stress about rent, and yeah, being adaptable is very important. I'm actually getting, like I plan on growing dandelions, because those, first of all, they grow anywhere, anyhow. They're robust, but they're also edible. The whole dandelion plant is edible. So I feel like if I grow some of those, not only am I not going to have to worry about my crop dying, but I'll also have a renewable source of food. So yeah, like I've learned a lot of the different things that are actually edible out in the wild. And I plan on learning more. I want to get to a point where I can be kind of independent of any kind of societal system. Like, I'll cooperate within it, but I also want to be able to not rely on it to live or survive. So I want to get to a point where I'm growing my own food, and that I have a goat and some sheep for goat's milk and wool. Because the relationship between sheep and humans, in my opinion, is very symbiotic. You know, you shear the sheep, good, lovely relief. All that heavy, hot wool is off. And it's... yeah, it would be nice if we could all live off of our own land. I feel like it would genuinely be a huge advantage. Like, I know that, like, most of this stuff, I'm thinking of an ideal situation where I own land and have a house and have, like, a decent little community support system thing in place. But in reality, I know that this is a pipe dream. But, you know, it could always be worse. With the fact that I do have some skill with archery, and I also do own a bow and a few arrows, I could probably very easily hunt wild turkey and probably have a source of food in that as well, and that will be a much more protein-rich source of food. So those are probably like the two biggest things that I will be capable of living off of: should shit hit the fan. I'm very hopeful, though, that eventually, like, I almost did a double crochet again. Habit. I'm so used to doing double crochets. This entire blanket is mostly all double crochets. It's basically an infinity granny square. Seamless, too. But anywho, old habits, I guess. Muscle memory, really, actually. But, yeah, I feel like having foraging skills and hunting skills and everything, that would be crucial. I do have the ability to, I know how to dress wounds and how to prevent infection. I also know how to, stop, bleeding. It's just, you know, if someone's bleeding, I know how to stop the bleeding. So it just, ugh, there. Okay. I accidentally cut off blood flow to my legs. And I did another double. Golly. But yeah, it's just like, I feel like it would be very nice to learn those skills and to have some degree of, and I think that's like some degree of independence. I'm also planning on having chickens in this hypothetical pipe dream world, where land is magically affordable. But, yeah, so there'll be chickens for their eggs. And then there'll be pigs as well, at least 1 or 2. But not for any kind of eating or anything. They're actually just going to be our garbage disposal. It's like, okay, here's all my scrap, here's the scraps of meat that I won't eat. You know, like, here's the fatty tissue of the meat that I'm not going to touch. Here's some, you know, pigs will eat anything. Golly. I just got to make sure that my fiance doesn't get any ideas about the pig being dinner. But, you know, if I'm going to be hunting, I need to have some way of handling, like, what I won't be able to eat or use. I'm very much, you know, I don't know. I'm very much, I live by the motto, waste not, want not. Meaning, as long as you manage to not waste things and you find ways to use things or to get the most out of them, you will be less needful of other things, if that makes sense. But yeah, we're almost coming to an end of this round, thank God. And then I can go back to my double crochets, which is what I'm the most used to doing, and then I can stop sitting here being like, oh gosh, I did a double again, and then unraveling it again to correct it. Also, this ring, I learned, cannot be resized because it is 2 different metals. And so in resizing it, it would burn up, according to my friend who is a jeweler. So considering he gets a lot of stuff from, like, consignment and what's that other, estate sales, that's the one. Oh, yeah, yeah, I definitely do know that pink is a very good color on me. Considering how pale I am, red could work, but it would wash me out. So if I'm going for more of, like, I don't know, the gothic vampiric look, I can wear red. But pink generally does look very nice on me, and it brings out the green in my eyes quite nicely. But anywho, I don't remember what I was saying now. Let's see. Oh, yeah, so the plan is to ask him to keep an eye out for any cameo rings that might fit me. Or, like, sage is a lovely color. Yeah. I don't have a whole lot of, like, green tones in my wardrobe as of yet. My favorite shade of green is emerald. Sage is more of, like, I don't know, a muted pastel green, isn't it? Or I'm picturing the wrong color. But, yeah. Oh, okay, I can't feel my foot. Whoops. But yeah. It also helps that pink is my favorite color. Here's another crochet project of mine. It's lots and lots of pinks, and so it starts off as a giant granny square in the center, and I'm slowly adding to it my flowers, and then I have this random heart that I stitched to it. I don't know, it's just going to be the chaos blanket. That one's going to be my blanket, so it's just going to be a bunch of different types of stuff to, like, test out different things. I want to see how well it turns out and see if it works for it or not, like, before I, like, I don't know, make permanent changes to other blankets. Which is why I make the sacrifice on my own. Because I don't care how chaotic it looks. But I think it'll be lovely. Genuinely. Earlier this week, I got to stay... Thank you. Yeah. I caught on very quickly to how to make the flowers. I followed the tutorial for one, and then after that I was able to figure them all out. I think what I'm gonna do later on is to, like, keep making the magic ring over and over and over until I have it mastered, so I can stop doing my cheat form of doing it, because that's why there's the holes in the middle of the flowers. But who knows, I might use that as part of, like, intentional design. Maybe, like... Actually, that's kind of an interesting idea. Like, I could crochet butterflies and attach them so it looks like they're on the flowers. Like, I could attach them on some of them. Maybe make some miniature bees to put on some of the others. I think that would be cute. It's just going to be a lot of different kinds of stuff. There'll probably be some... This blanket will probably also feature some strawberry stitches. And a lot of, like, other crazy stuff. It's just going to be all over the place. But I think that suits my personality well, because I can be all over the place, too, with my style. But, oh gosh, did I remember to... I did. Okay. I had to make sure I remembered to take my morning meds. It's like 10:18 currently. Yeah, no, we're doing triples still. Yeah, we haven't finished this round. But yeah. So earlier this week, I want to say Monday night into Tuesday, we stayed the night at Travis's parents' house, which was very lovely. It was, like, very peaceful and relaxing. I didn't have to worry about anything, and it was just pleasant. Honestly, I genuinely love Travis's mother. Travis's father, though, kind of pisses me off a lot. I just can't respect a man who can't treat his family with any kind of respect. You know, he talks down and belittles his whole family, and I can't respect that. Okay, so we're about finished with this row, which, thank God, we can go back to what I'm familiar with. Double crochets. It's not that I'm not familiar, it's just that the muscle memory and the habit of doing the double crochets makes it harder to remember, gee, I'm supposed to be doing triples right now. You know? Slip stitching into it. There. And that's another round done. And then we're back on our double crochets. Thank goodness. Mindless work is easy. I think that's why I like crocheting so much. It's like it becomes muscle memory, and then next thing you know, you're crocheting with. Yes, I agree. I agree with you. Obtuse fuck. A lot of men's dads. I'm gonna read out. A lot of men's dads kind of suck. I've noticed. Definitely makes it hard on men these days that are trying to do the right thing, and I'm going to agree. I do agree. I do feel that a lot of it is a societal issue. Travis's dad is a boomer, so it was a generation where you didn't show affection or love because that was a sign of weakness, I guess. So I recognize where he's coming from, but it still pisses me off because it's just like, I don't know. He threw a huge fit about us staying over, but I know that Travis's mom definitely was very happy to see us. I mean, she's stuck there with that asshole all the time, and I do worry about her and such. But yeah, she was definitely very happy to have us over, happy to see us. Especially like when you're used to being stuck at home with one person who's kind of a dick. It kind of like becomes kind of a bit of a blessing whenever people stop by and you get to see a change of pace and get to see people you care about that actually treat you with respect. I also visited my siblings earlier this week, but I had made a vlog about that, I believe. They've grown up like to become such beautiful. They're so beautiful, you know. They've really grown up and matured, you know. And if anyone tries to hurt them, I'm going hunting. You know, forget about the father with a gunshot. How about the older, like a shotgun? Wow, a gunshot. Yeah, it's like the old stereotype of the father with the shotgun, but instead it's the fiercely protective older sister with a shotgun. Boys are shit, honestly. Like they're kind of rubbish when they're young. And sometimes they never grow out of that. Sometimes they kind of continue to be horrible and mean and disrespectful and hurtful towards people because society has told them that that is okay and acceptable. And it's like, seriously? I don't know. I'm not going to get further into it because it's really not my business to say. But there are definitely some boys that I would like very much to punch in the face. Simply for... Oh, yeah. I raised them, you know? I changed their diapers, fed them, kept them alive, bathed them, taught them. I taught them. I mean, golly, me raising my siblings is genuinely how I learned a lot of the life skills that I have now. And so that is the silver lining. Sure, I'm mad that I missed out on my childhood, but I've learned that the silver lining of it is that I'm very good at keeping a level head in an emergency situation. Like one time my younger sibling, Kit, had stepped on a sewing needle that was like embedded in the rug. Like it was in the rug, buried, and they had stepped in just the right way for it to get stuck in their foot. And Dad wasn't home. At that time, we didn't have a stepmom. This was one of those rare gaps in his love life, I suppose. And my mom was MIA. So I had to kind of like handle that situation. And I handled it with a cool, calm head. And it's like this child was... they were very young at this time. And this child was screaming and crying because... holy crow, it's a massive sewing needle stuck in the foot. And it was not like one of the small ones. It looked like... it was a very thick, big one. But it wasn't like blunt like the ones that you see with crocheting kits and such. But yeah. But I do very much love my siblings. And even though I'm disappointed by some of the things they do, I'm proud of how far they've come. And I hope that they continue to grow and heal, because Dad's a lot to deal with. And I don't think that they're going to be able to properly heal until they move out of the house like I had to. When I was 18, I moved out. My younger sibling moved out at 18 as well, but then they moved back in because life is hard. They're in college and they've been living on campus, but since the semester ended, they needed a place to stay. So yeah, but they were basically kicked out, in a manner of speaking, back when they were pursuing hormones. And I just don't think it's fair to kick someone out like that for something like that. But that's also me. And it's like, look, they were 18 years old. They're perfectly allowed to make their own choice in that matter. And so it's like, I don't know. It's just weird how, like, I don't know, like, it's like they're a grown adult and you're gonna sit there and micromanage them. As like, why? I don't know, like, what kind of, like, where my sibling is at on things, but I don't know. I really hope, though, that, like, things do get better for them and everything like that. Boop. Let's see. This is actually turning out kind of interesting, like. Oh. Do either of your parents also have autism? I was diagnosed with ADHD/OCD years ago, but I think I have autism. I also pick my skin. So, well, both of my parents are, my dad has ADHD confirmed diagnosis, but I believe he's also autistic. I have a diagnosis of both ADHD and autism, and OCD, actually. A lot of my skin picking is an OCD compulsion, because in my mind it's like, you have to pick at it, you have to remove the flaw, or else it's like, you'll be disfigured heinously for the rest of your life, is what the, like, little OCD thoughts in my head are. But I've begun focusing on the negative sensory aspects of it to try to break that habit. But yeah, my mom, there's no way my mom is not autistic. She does this whole swaying or rocking thing that I do a lot. Oh, lost feeling to my legs again. But yeah, the skin picking thing is very difficult to... Yeah. Yeah, the idea of just touching and not picking at it. So yeah, like what I would do is like I would feel it and I'd acknowledge it and remind myself, okay, this will go away if you just don't mess with it. And I just have to consciously remind myself of that, even as I like subconsciously find myself picking them. I've got to stop and be like, no, that'll go away on its own. Just let it heal. Because if anything, all I'm doing is making, like, I'm just making it last longer by like picking, and I need to not do that. But yeah, I hope that like, I don't know, is useful and helpful for you, honestly. Yeah. I'm pretty sure all of my siblings are autistic too, by the way. Like, I don't know, my brother, his big special interest is historic architecture, plants, and old cars, classic cars. He actually has a collection of classic cars that he's been working on fixing up. He's very mechanically inclined, so he's very good at fixing cars and stuff, but his job is fixing the rides at the carnival that he works at. So he also runs those rides, I believe. But yeah. And then I don't know what my mom's special interest would be. I'm not sure. Right now she's been so heavily in the grips of survival like mode that I can't really figure it out. She's been fighting to survive my whole life. Yeah, I'm sure he does know the ins and outs of those rides. I agree. I'm glad he was able to get a job that he enjoys like this. He loves doing mechanical work. I know that my special interest pertains to fashion, dolls, music, and I also am very into history, but I care about more of... I care about domestic history. You know, the smaller things of the daily life, like the clothing that you would wear, the chores you would do, the how you would do them, the simple small things, the etiquette at the table of the time, the language of the time. Like I like to know the small things, the cultural things. And I also do know the broad strokes of history as well and how they affected those. For instance, like any war or famine and how that influenced any particular culture. I just find that to be very interesting. But as far as like ranking goes, I definitely want to say music and fashion are tied for number one. Then dolls and history for number two. Like there's just tied. And Spider-Man has been a hyperfixation of mine for a very, very long time. When I was a kid, I had a crush on Spider-Man. So yeah. Or did I? I was definitely very fixated. At the time, I assumed it was a crush. I was in elementary school. Thank you. What specifically are you referring to that comes across in my style? Is it like the vintage aspect or like the fact that I'm very into fashion? I mean, either way. I look forward to when I, like, can actually get more stuff that more fits into my style. I want to go with, I kind of want to have more of a, like, I want to combine princess core, coquette, cottage core vibes combined with, like, pastel and whimsy goth and romantic goth vibes. Thank you. I actually do have a lot of, like, vintage clothes that I like to collect. There's this beautiful, Victorian, I want to say it's some sort of a nightgown. It's a very thin linen, at this antique store up in Steubenville, which is where I grew up. And I genuinely think that it would be, like, nice to, like, have them. I even found, oh my gosh, they keep calling them, they misnamed them. There was this, drawers. They were drawers, and they were calling them, what were they calling them? Bloomers. They called them bloomers, and it's like, no, these are completely different from bloomers. Drawers, being the Victorian undergarment worn underneath the dress. It has a huge slit in the middle so that one could easily squat over a chamber pot to use the toilet without having to, like, take off any clothing. And they had mislabeled it, and I'm sitting there like, I can't believe it, you know? Because it's like, this is, I don't know. It's weird knowing stuff that other people don't know sometimes, because it's like, especially when you expect them to know. It's an antique shop. I would have expected them to know. If you're going to be selling vintage clothing, you may as well know what it is, right? On the bright side, though, the price is pretty reasonable. So sometimes ignorance is bliss, especially since vintage clothing is such a niche thing that it is kind of really hard to, what's the word? It's very hard to sell that kind of stuff because of the fact that it's such a small group of people who like to get into that kind of stuff, the old clothing. I want to say that from about the Victorian era through to all the way to the 60s, that's my favorite, like, fashion chunk of time. Like, between those years, I think that fashion was genuinely very interesting and distinguishable decade by decade because of how much they were different. I also know a lot about anatomy and psychology. I wouldn't say for no reason, though. I find it very fascinating. Those are not things that I would call a special interest, but more of a hyperfixation, because special interest stuff is the stuff that, like, my life revolves around, whereas hyperfixation is stuff that, like, I retain the information to and fixate on. That's how I differentiate it for me anyway. And they do feel very differently. Like, I have a hyperfixation on frogs, so I like to collect a bunch of frogs. But I don't, like, have, like, a special interest of frogs where it's like my whole life is about frogs, where it's like, oh, everything has to be frog themed, and here's a bunch of scientific facts about frogs, here's a bunch more scientific facts about frogs, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, I actually, when I took anatomy and physiology in high school, I actually had a 100% A in that class, with bonus points putting me above that even. I always did very excellent in things such as science, but I don't think it's something I want to make my life be around. Yeah. But yeah. So I think I'm gonna, like, wrap up the stream for now, though, because I really badly have to use the bathroom, and I've run out of stuff to ramble about, I think. Either that or the fact that I have to use the restroom has cleared my mind of all other thoughts. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.